I think NLP has actually lost its way, to be quite honest. At least it has for me, or maybe that's just how I perceive it. So for me, coming across the founders of the IFNLP first started talking about their values and about the importance of being human and connecting with the human side of personal development. It really resonated with me. And that started a conversation I had with some of the founders, and that's why I actually want to be part of the IFNLP in the beginning. If I go back to one of the reasons that I actually got really excited when I first saw the founders talking about IFNLP was because a long time ago, I actually know when it was. It was August 1986, and I know that because I asked the Echo, what's it called, the Alexa device the other day, when would this happen? There was a song in the charts many years ago in 86, 2nd of August 86, where Krista Burke had a song called The Lady in Red. And I was just a young teenager at the time, and it was just a really blistering hot summer in west of Ireland. And I was hanging out with my family, myself, my two sisters, and it was really hot. And we had set up this hose in the back garden. We stuffed a clothes peg in the hose, and we were spraying this really fine mist into the back garden so we could cool ourselves down as we ran out playing games. And as we're in that space, and I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but if you get a very fine mist of water in a hot summer's day, it creates kind of a smell. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a water mist, like a very fine mist, and there's a very distinct summer smell that comes from that. And while we're just kind of chilling out there in the zone, just having fun and playing around, this thought dropped. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't something I thought about before. And the thought that dropped for me was like, what if there's only 400 people in the world? What if there was only 400 people and everybody else was a cardboard cutout? That nobody else existed apart from the 400 people. So everybody else was just filling up the space in order for you to go through life, meeting these 400 people, to do what you're supposed to do, to live your life and to connect with these 400 people. And I don't know where the thought came from, but it stuck with me for years. And then I remember thinking years later, what if it was only 400 people? How would you know which people are the 400 you're supposed to connect with and which people weren't? And this became a philosophy for me in my life, that I acted as if everybody I meet new for the first time is one of the 400, which means that I try not to dismiss people. I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt. I always try to say, what is great about this person? How could this person become amazing that we could join our journey? We could follow that path together, go on that journey together. And it's something that stuck with me for my whole life, long before I ever came across NLP. And recently, there was an Easter break, and myself and my eldest son, we were traveling up north based in Northern Ireland, to a place called the Giant's Causeway. And I recently got a sports car for myself, a little Nissan 350Z. I think it's like mid-age crisis or something like that. So, and it was myself and my son were traveling up north to Giant's Causeway. And if you ever want to build rapport with a teenage son, the way you do it is you buy a sports car. And I believe you will get so much rapport just from having that car and the sounds and all this sort of stuff, and the gadgets talk about cars. So we're heading up there. And on the way, I started talking about this 400 and about goals. And I asked him about what goals did he have for the future. And he's not really thought about goals yet very much. And I realized this is actually something that I see happening a lot. So I asked him, as you think about your goals for you, what does it look like? What do you think could happen? What do you see happening in the future? And he said, Dad, I don't really see anything happening in the future. I don't really have any, nothing's clear to me. And at that point, I realized this is one of the problems that I've seen a lot when I do trainings. I've been trained as an NLP trainer for over 20 years now. And part of learning about NLP is about understanding where you are, where you want to be, and then finding some way of building a path, a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And that's really important. And then what we do is we remove the obstacles and we get very clear on our goals. But I really believe that what's really important for me is that people actually create goals that are really compelling and exciting and really light up their desire, light up their deep desires for what they really want in life. And what I realized from many years of teaching, when you do a process or a training around NLP, the time is very limited. You need to be focused on getting each of the different tools and techniques transferred across, so the students learn this and they understand it and they can use these tools. But sometimes there isn't the time to actually go deep into what do you want in the future. People can tell me what they don't want, but not necessarily tell me what they do want. So what I get is these fake goals that people want to achieve. And this is something that's been in the back of my mind for years. They say, like, I want to make $100,000 a year, I want to make £1 million, I want a bigger house, I want to change jobs, or whatever else, something like that. I want to travel. I want to travel to somewhere, travel around the world. But I really don't think people spend enough time thinking about what they actually want that would fill up that would make them feel fulfilled, feel like passionate, feel like they're really on a journey of purpose, a divine journey, if you want to call it that. And it came to a conclusion that what happens for a lot of people is they don't think about their goals. They think about where they are right now. And then what they do is they say, if I did more of that, what would it look like in 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years? So essentially what I see a lot of people doing is they take their life today and they make a busy version of it and say, that is my goal for the future. And I fell into this trap myself there only about a year ago. It was last year. Myself and my wife were sitting out and we took a big A4 piece of paper and we started writing down different things we could see ourselves doing over the next couple of years. So we wrote them all down, this like small pen on a big massive A1 sheet of paper, flip chart paper. And then what we realized is what we put down was we've created a future of us being just really, really busy, but not necessarily fulfilled. And says, you know what, let's just tear this up and start again. And we really started to say, hold on a second, what is it that people really want? What is it that really lights us up? What is like that lights other people up? And it got me to realize that it's not about the goals per se in the beginning. What it is about is finding out how you put yourself in a space for an idea to drop. Just like the idea of the 400. I was in this space as a kid many years ago. We're having fun. It was a wonderful day. There's music playing in the background, the lady in red or whatever it was. And I was just in the zone. And in that zone, this thought dropped. And what I find is that if you put yourself in a really great place, a really resourceful place where you can just dream and play and have fun, there's no pressure, you don't have to come up with a goal, then if you're lucky, that thought will drop. That thought that actually says to you, this would really light me up, this would fulfill me, this would make me feel on top of the world, right? That's a goal worth pursuing. And if that happened, how would it make a difference to me? How would it make a difference to the people around me? And how would it make a difference to the world, to the planet? Which is what we call an ecological goal. And in the process of thinking about this, I was going through this process and thinking about it. It says, what do we need to do to make things more exciting for people? It's like finding out what is your desire as opposed to your goal. What is your legacy you want to leave? How do you leverage your legacy? And how do you actually then make that something that's really compelling for you? So anyways, back to the story about myself and my son. We're traveling up in the 350Z. It's a beautiful day, driving on the road, the sound of the car going up, the windows open, the wind in our hair, and really having a great time. We started talking about goals. And he said to me, I don't really have clear goals. I'm sure what's clear in the future. And what I realize is that when people think about the future, sometimes the image of the future is not very clear, especially if you're not a very visual person. The image of the future is not very clear because you haven't thought about it enough to have a clear image. If you're lucky and an image is dropped, an idea is dropped, a sort of a desire has dropped, then you might have a very clear vision about what that future looks like. But for most people, they don't have that. And I said to him, okay, what I want you to do is, we'd gone to this place called Shanty up on the North Coast, the most amazing steakhouse I've ever been, and it's just amazing. So we'd been there one of the days while we're up north, and I said to him, I want you to think about the best steak you've ever had. I knew it was literally the day before, so I knew he'd remember that. He says, okay, so describe it to me. And he described the scene in the restaurant, and his face lit up, and he was thinking about the taste and everything about the steak. Right. And how he really enjoyed it is the best steak he ever had. And he says, okay, and do you have a clear picture about it? And what's the size of the picture? Is it black or white, or is it bright or dim? What's the contrast like? What's the submodalities? What's the properties? What was he saying to himself? And he had a very clear picture of that event in the past that literally happened yesterday. I said to him, the reason it's actually very clear for you is because you experienced it. But what I want you to think about is, what if you actually set a goal in the future that you haven't experienced yet? Before you think about it, before you make it up, you don't have a picture of that future step. You see what I'm saying? So let's just take something you've already experienced and found amazing, and let's change it just for fun. And we play. Can we play for a moment? He says, yeah, let's play. Okay. So I want you to imagine that instead of going back to Shanty and having a steak in Shanty up in the North Coast, that we actually go to Las Vegas. And we go to this amazing steakhouse, the best steakhouse in Las Vegas, and we go there instead. And on the way there, we decide to rent like McLaren P1 car, and we take the sports car and we drive up to the place we're staying. We go into the restaurant. We have this amazing steak, and we have a great evening together in Las Vegas. And say 3 years time, 5 years time, it doesn't matter what it is. You tell me. And he says, as you think about that, do you have a picture? Yeah, I've got a picture of that. It says, what makes it so compelling? Because driving a McLaren, like a sports car in America, and the big highways there, and having this amazing steak would be like even bigger than the steak we had. It would be absolutely amazing. And I said, okay, tell me about the picture. Is it brighter, brighter dim? Is it near or far? What's the contrast like? What's the color? What's the size? All the rest of it. And he described it to me as a very compelling picture. Now, what I said to him is like, so here's the thing. We constructed that picture based on the picture you already had. We took one picture, we made it bigger, put it somewhere else, and made it more compelling. And now you have a clear picture of that future last step. Right? That is the process of creating goals that actually are fulfilling. The process of creating goals that are fulfilling is about taking something and making it up that makes you feel fulfilled. Now the question is, how do you tie that result to something you want to achieve? I mean, if you wanted to be able to go to Las Vegas and have the steak and rent this sports car, what would need to have happened in order for you to be able to justify being able to spend the money to do that? And he says, well, I don't know, I'm just a teenager, but I guess maybe if I set up a business and then I was actually able to make money and do things that I enjoyed and use my IT skills to maybe do this, that, and the other. And he gave me lots of ideas. And suddenly what he had is realized that the process wasn't necessarily about having a goal, but having a last step that was exciting for him that he could put at the end of the goal, which could be like a business goal or an education goal or a learning goal. And he made that connection in his mind so that he actually realized that actually it's not just about already seeing the future, it's about making the future up in a way that makes you feel excited about every time you think about it. And I think that's really what is missing for me in NLP, is that while we learn a lot of the tools and techniques in NLP that can really help in all sorts of different areas, whether it's in therapy or business or in education or teaching or presenting, is that sometimes we forget that we can achieve more if we actually dream bigger, if we make stuff up that fulfills us. And on my YouTube channel, I've got like a thumbnail background, which is aim higher. I've got this like aim higher. And AIM stands for AIM. The letters AIM spells out ambition, influence, and mastery. Because I believe that everybody needs to have more influence. People need to be more ambitious. A for ambitious. We need to be more ambitious. We need to think bigger goals, tie goals to things that we know we are going to enjoy, and link those together. And to have influence. And influence for me really is about the power of language in NLP. It's about having a great way of connecting with people, of sharing your message and being able to win hearts and minds with what you say and how you say it. And mastery then is about learning the tools and techniques, including the modeling techniques, to master what you want to do. And whether that's communication, whether it's presenting, whether it's a particular skill outside of NLP, the question is, when you set your intention to master something and you master it, then you raise the bar and you aim higher. And for me, this is what it's really about. It's about looking at, when you think about your life, are you thinking too small? Is there something that you could actually look at to say, you know what, you could be great. You genuinely could be great if you got out of your own way. If you got out of your own way of thinking about my expected future, as in a busier version of today, instead start thinking about what is your desired future. What is a future that would really, really fill you up, make you feel fulfilled, and make you feel like you're alive and you're living your purpose and you're making a difference in the world. And if you could be great, then what would need to have happened in order for you to get there? Would you have more ambition? Would you have more influence? Would you have mastered certain skills along the way? And having learnt all of those skills and having had that influence and having that ambition, what would be the first step you'd need to take today in order to start the journey to make that last step possible? And having reached that last step, how would it make you feel? Because you could be great, you could be amazing, but it starts with making stuff up about what is possible in the future. And I think that's what's missing in NLP, is that when people think about goals, they're just taking what they already have and they just want more of it. But actually, you have the opportunity, because of what you can learn through the NLP tools techniques, to totally change your destiny, to totally change the path that you're following and create a totally different path. It's not just more of what you have today. It's not about just turning down the volume of some of the pain you have, but it's about having a whole new future that is exciting for you and your family and the people in your lives, so you can make a difference in the world. So my question for you is that if you could find your 400 people, what would that look like? And what's the first step you need to take today?